All right, welcome to step 16. We're moving on to the cab now. Nothing really different overall other than different part shapes. I thought I had cleaned everything up with this, but apparently I did not. So I'm double checking all this real quick while we're chatting. Otherwise, yeah, I pulled everything down, got everything prepped and ready for this episode. I have to admit, I have shown my fuel tanks that I designed and printed off to a number of people. They're happy with what they see. I guess I'm enjoying the fact with this 3D printing and the CAD designing, what phase or fad or whatever that's come up over this pandemic time. This is really cool. I mean, I never thought I'd be able to get parts that quick, and even if I had scratch built, the only way that I would be able to replicate those parts is if I molded them, and then you kind of, when you scratch build, you have to keep in mind that you're planning on doing molds of it so that you can set things up properly. So that can tend to, how would I put it, limit what you can do with your scratch build stuff. Either scratch building to put it right onto the model and not worrying about duplicating it, or else you are making it so that it can be molded, and then you've got other issues. Just, I'm amazed. I'm happy. Other people are happy. So I really see that the 3D portion of this really has some legs. Now, what's the downside? The downside is there are a lot of STL files out there and printing files that are kind of garbage. So you can end up buying something and printing it and then going, oh, what's this? What did I end up with? Either it's like in a million parts and you have to combine them together, or the files are actually just skins and there's nothing in between, and so you have to go in and prep them and get them ready to be printed, or the detail just isn't there for the scale that you want, etc. But right now I'm working on putting the steering wheel on, and that just glues on. There doesn't seem to be any keying. I'm not worried about it. For putting F45, the shaft on there, and then on this you'll see on one side there are bolts on F45 and on the other side there are not. That is where G27 glues on, just to keep yourself straight. And of course, nothing wants to stay glued right this second, but the thing is I probably should have glued this on first and then glued it to the steering column. My mistake. But you can see what I'm doing here. And in the end I'm going to get this. It's going to work. It'll be fine. But it's a little, once again, a little fiddly. For the robustness that this kit represents, I mean, a tank transporter and it being a truck and all that, there are a fair number of fiddly bits to this. I'm going to start with PE5. Now this is a little grab handle, and rather than putting it into my regular folding, the photo etch folder, I'm using my forceps, and I find that this works better, especially with this real thin PE. I have better control. I just put the edges of the tweezers, the two sides, real close to the bending part, and I bend from the outside in, so the feet get bent up first, if you want to call that a foot, but anyways, and then I bend the leg down. And I've been I've been happy with the way that that works for me anyway. So give it a shot, see what you think. So I've got that built. The other one right here, which is MB23, is going to take a little bit of bending, and this I will be using my tool for, because I have to, the way that this is set up, you bend this thinner piece out, and then you bend this one, the larger chunk, in. So I'm going to put this here. Like that. And then I'm going to use my knife. I don't have a straight blade or a razor blade handily available. And again, move this in like so. That's on me. So when I folded this, it's got to fold the other way, not that way. That's on me. Doggone it. So what do you do when you fold it wrong? Well, what I do is I will put this piece in on the edge, pointing up. Up being a relative term, but up. Like so, and then, and this is important, I will use some sort of straight edge metal part, and I'll bend it the other direction like it's supposed to be. Now, what I'm noticing is that this isn't going to bend exactly correct, so I'm going to put this down here, and I can't fold it the other way with and still see where the line is. I've got to just carefully, and you know, this is where patience pays off. I'm holding everything together the best I can. This is where I'll fold it. I feel like I've just gotten a much better bend, especially since I already bent it the other way. You want to be careful not to rebend it too much, or else you end up bending it to break. So now I've got that done, but I've got that little lip going down, so I don't want to go against the flat surface like this. I'm going to go against the edge right here, so it can overhang and still be safe. As far as keeping its shape. And then bend it up. And with that, I've got the piece the way that I want it. So that's set up for that. First thing I'm gonna do, because, and as you know from previous videos, I like to use glue with my photo etch, and the kind of cool thing about this is this goes on top like so, and it becomes the side as well right here. Kind of a unique thing. And I'm just gonna make sure that's set up square. Put a little glue down this side because it's hollow right here in the back, or there's no plastic backing. And so I'm going to let that sit and dry while I put these other pieces on. Now what I am not doing right now is decaling. And I would not like decaling this at this point regardless. But I'm also building this to get the build completely done before any painting. I'm not going to do any pre-painting or priming or anything. Use my forceps for this, just to get that in place really nicely. Not sure why there are little fibers in there, but get rid of those. And I will also sit and adjust these handles. Sometimes the holes are bigger than the parts, so I adjust the pieces so that it will cover that. Now, that's where that goes. The photo etch piece, that little handle, goes down here, and there's no positive place to put it. So for right now, looks like it goes right on this edge. I'm going to put that right there. However, if I have a problem with this while I'm building, I may end up super gluing that on, just because it seems like this could benefit, especially using my black super glue, which is got a little touch of flexibility in it. Now, one thing you'll notice when I was using the forceps is that there is a bit of a bend or a twist in that photo etch piece. If you don't like that, if you mind that, you may want to go through and rebend this to get this the way that you want. However, I'm not worried about it. And finally, this square right here is the mount for this. Goes on like that. And in this case, what you want to do is look at it kind of from the front, just to make sure that it's square, plumb, and level. I think that looks pretty good. So that one's done. And I just put that piece down. Yep, see, that's what I was worried about, is I put that down and it twisted that. So there. Leave that sit to dry, and then finally we have these larger pieces back here. I'm going to start with the base piece, C7, and I'm going to glue on C15 right here to start with, just to give me a nice solid base to work from. Now, some of the parts go in, some of the parts go on. It's kind of crazy to figure out, so what I'm doing, at least in this case, is the only positive part is on the bottom of C5 is this bar, and that goes down the middle of our C15. That goes down the middle of C7. So that gives you something to work with as far as setting this up. Now, I put glue on this side but not this side, and that's just because now I'm going to just come in from underneath and wick some of that glue in there to start pulling it through, because otherwise by the time I get the glue on all the surfaces to glue them together, half the glue's already evaporated, dried up, gone. So this gives me the most efficient use of my glue and my time. And also, these parts don't want to stay together. There's a little warpage, so going a bit at a time can help me to get the glue to set in one spot. So as I'm gluing things together, and I have to be careful not to get any on your fingers, or else it ends up gumming up the works and putting in fingerprints on your parts and all that. So I admit that this is a little bit of work, but taking your time to do it right. Check your positioning and make sure you get your glue in your various spots, and it should work out okay. Now, I did get a little bit of my fingerprint there. What I'll do is just put a little glue there to smooth it out, and I've got to be careful not to touch that as I'm putting these other parts on. So now I know that my wet spot is right there. Keep it away from me. Now I've got my box. I'm guessing this is a transmission cover for in the cab, but put my box on, being careful to not touch that spot. I I did not. I've got it in. Now I'll put the glue in. All right. So that's done, and now I'll mate it up with this back wall piece. I'm going to call it a back wall firewall, but it's important to note that this goes into the back side, not with the front side detail. So there's a little bit of curve to the top. The curve goes towards this, and then there's the locating joints for putting the box on there. There we go. Just a little bit, just doesn't quite. You can see right here where this goes, and it just doesn't quite fit. So let's see what we can do to fix that. So what I'm seeing is that there's a little bit of, maybe a little extra, or yeah, see there it fits. I'm guessing there's just a tiny bit of warpage, and a little bit of glue will help with that. So now that I've got it in place, put the glue in right there. Let the glue start doing its welding. Let it do its capillary action to run up and down the parts. And at least now the parts are on, and I'm not getting that crimping. Now I'm going to go through and put a little extra on this side of it just to make sure. It's a little, takes a little bit of work, but overall, I mean, you can see right here, I'm not using any clamps or anything. Everything is sticking together just fine. I got the glue on for the firewall front end. I'm not sure exactly what to call it. I think that's what that would be for the engine, but it's together. Parts are the way that they're supposed to be as far as for these particular parts in step 16. I said step 15, didn't I? Oof. Step 16. This is gluing together on now. So I'm going through, like I said before, and all the parts that I have not put on, I am highlighting here so that they can be found and remembered before I do anything too stupid, like putting the kit together and then deciding I have to do decals on the dashboard, kind of like doing a ship in a bottle. But step 16 is complete. Talk to you for step 17.